We're back. This is Worldgen and Embarking, so that, you can actually start up your own fortress rather than going with the one that's provided in the other video. First thing, go to create world, create new world, press enter. Then wait for the inevitable lag spike. Okay, options. This is obviously really simple. History is the length that the world will generate before you go. If you make it very short, you are going to get probably more civilizations existing, but each of them will be smaller and more mega beasts. Number of civilizations, just more. You'll have more chance of having one survive generally. Number of beasts is the same thing, except it's mega beasts, which are potentially fun. You might want more of them, so you can put it to high. Savagery is essentially how dangerous the world is. You can make it more dangerous, less dangerous. And mineral occurrence, how many, ores, gems, whatever there are underground. Simple. But we're not going to use this. I'm going to press escape and go to design new world with advanced parameters. Right, you can choose over here different region types. Just pretty self-explanatory. A region is just a collection of land masses. It's more like a continent, whereas an island will be defined by its being surrounded by water. So I'm going to go for small island, and I'm going to press E, advanced parameters. There are like 150 different parameters that we can change here, but I'm only going to cover a couple of them. And when I get back to the ones that I'm going to cover, I'll talk about those. Right. End year. That's when you'll stop generating history, assuming nothing else forces it to stop. But we are going to force it to stop with this. Percentage of beasts dead for stoppage. Currently 80%, and it starts checking after 100 years. But I want my small island to have tons of mega beasts, so press enter here. Just set that to 50. And then we're going to change the percent dead to 20%. So we're probably going to stop after 50 years with only 20% of mega beasts dead. And well, hopefully that'll lead to more interesting but brutally difficult gameplay. I don't actually remember if mega beasts are implemented at the moment, so perhaps not. Then we're just going to press enter. Haven't saved your changes, but that's fine, because I can do it again later. And also I don't see any option to save them. Now at this point we can watch the world be generated, but I'm not too worried about doing so. So I'm going to cut the recording, come back when it's done. And 1 second after I cut the recording, it's done. It takes longer for bigger worlds. In this case we stopped after 73 years, presumably because of the Mega Beast cut. Now you can look around the world with the arrow keys, take a look at what's there. You've got this pink evil region. I think this blue area is a good region, but I might be wrong. Could just be human territory. But yeah, it's a small island, there's not much to it. Right. You can abort, get rid of this entirely, and start again by pressing A, or we can take a picture of it with P. But what we're going to do instead is just accept this is the world we want. Now it just needs to save, that'll take a moment. And now we're going to start playing. I'm going to choose the region that we just created. Hopefully this is the right one, anyway. I'm going to choose Dwarf Fortress. Right, this is where we choose a location. You've got the local map, the regional map, I think this is called, and the world map. I may be making those up, but that's not the point. We use the movement, the arrow keys, sorry, to move the medium map. The cross there, you can move this around. And each movement here is an entirely different local area. And we can use U, H, K, and M to move within a local area. Okay, generally, what you want to look for in, a normal, safe fortress, you want to find something that's either, well, something that's green there in the surroundings. Untamed wilds are kind of dangerous, and, we've got haunted area here, sinister. Those are more dangerous because everything's evil. But we're going to go for something reasonably safe. This seems good. It's temperate, which means, the temperatures aren't too unreasonable. Nobody's going to be dying due to weather. It's a woodland, so there are some trees. There's other vegetation too, and it's only wilderness. And there's also a brook, which we're going to move the local map to go onto the brook. See up there? And we've got 2 different types of metal and some clay, which are all useful. Things to avoid: full-size rivers. Any river that's visible on the region is a real river, and it's likely to be quite difficult to cross and possibly dangerous. You may want to avoid those. They also cause performance issues. And again, evil areas, savage areas, they're more dangerous. You don't necessarily want to avoid them, but in the beginning, it's probably a good idea. Now, you can see down here it says F1, F2 to view biome. What that means is that we're actually on 2 different regions at once. If you press F1, it shows where each one is. And you can see the stats for each separate biome. One of them has Fluxstone, the other doesn't. That's the only difference here. So I'm going to move left a little into the area with Fluxstone. What Fluxstone is, you'll see in a forging video, potentially. For now, we're going to press E to Embark. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to press Tab to get different things up and see who our neighbours are. We'll have access to dwarves, elves, humans, and goblins. The goblins are aggressive. Press it again, we can choose which civilization we're from. And you can see here where they are, essentially. So we're going to go from the newer one, the closer one, sorry, why not? And then I'm going to press Tab again. We can see the elevation of the area. Honestly, don't remember how to read it particularly well. Oh no, there it is. This is a valley, as it's darker. It's higher, so we're kind of in the bottom of a valley, but it won't really be relevant since most of our area is within it. And we can also see how steep the actual area is, and in this case, we're kind of overlapping on a very steep area. That could be bad. Final thing, if you hold shift and use UK, M and H, you can get a bigger map area. Now that can be good, like big fortress, lots of fun, but you'll have massive performance issues as a result. So I'm personally not going to, because I can't handle it with my computer. Now we're done. There's also a search function, but, well, have a look. We can choose how much savagery we want, how much evil. We want lots of evil, lots of savagery. Choose if we want an aquifer or not, whether we want a river. Basically anything you want you can search for and it can be fine. But in this case I'm not going to bother because I'm not looking for anything too specific. This area is okay with me. So E, Embark. This is your only warning. Yeah. Right. We can choose between just playing now. That gives you a default setup. It's okay. or any of these custom setups that are included in the Lazy Noob pack. This is the one I was using for the tutorial, you won't have that. Or we can prepare carefully, which is what we're going to do. We're going to set one up ourselves. First thing is the Dwarf skill screen, but we'll come back to that in a moment. First, I'm going to hit tab to get to the item screen. Oh, this is awkward. It seems our civilization doesn't have access to iron, so we're being forced to bring a steel anvil. But first let's bring one less pick, one less battle axe, because we need a few more points. But I'm going to remove a few things here. You use the arrow keys to move up and down this menu, and plus and minus to reduce and increase things. I'm going to take away the wheelbarrow, because they're kind of expensive. We can make them on site. The same for these things. We just don't need them. We can make them on site and it won't be a problem. And then, what we're going to do, which is most important, press tab again to get back to the dwarves. We need to choose what our dwarves do, what they're good at. Again, arrow keys to navigate on this screen. And first, I'm going to make this guy into a miner. Plus, and it goes up. Now how this works, you can put 5 levels into a single skill, and 10 levels into a single dwarf. So you can have 2 skills at proficient, or you can have, 5 at adequate. What you do here is really up to you. A lot of people recommend bringing 2 miners. I don't do that personally. I'm going to set up what I do, just so you can see the UI work a bit. But I don't pretend that mine is particularly good at all. I'm just guessing wildly, pretty much. So people will likely tell you to do other things, and they may well be right. Who knows? So many skills. And what am I missing? I'm sure I'm missing something. I don't remember, so he can be useless, which is a carpenter. And he can be useful as an armor smith, because armor smithing is hard to train. But we've run out of points again, mostly because of that steel anvil. So I'm going to take away some more things, and finish off the skills. Right, that'll do. Now, setting up items.
When does the steel anvil start to benefit you over having an iron one?
It doesn't. That's
at any
problem.
point. There's no artisan status to an anvil.
There's absolutely no benefit to bringing a steel anvil over an iron anvil, but because my civilization doesn't have access to iron, it's given me a steel anvil.
Alright, it's just one of the very few items that cannot be made fancy then.
Yeah, it's just an anvil, unfortunately.
What a shame.
But we can save a few more points. Instead of bringing this copper battle axe for cutting trees, we're going to minus that, and we're going to press N for a new item. We're going to go to training weapons, and we're going to bring a training axe, which is worth about a quarter of the price, but it works just as well for cutting down trees. I think. I may be lying. Who knows? Okay. Aside from that, main thing that we need is we want to have food and drink. Dwarves drink twice as often as they eat. And my preferred amount is to bring 80 drink, 40 food, and then spend the rest on anything else that's useful. Some thread and cloth and bags for seed storage and medical stuff. Ropes not so much, but bring one for a well. You can bring a lot of different varieties of food, which, well, their main benefit is that some dwarves will like some foods more than others. You could, if you wanted to, take a look at your dwarves' individual preferences, which you can do by going to the dwarves screen, and then pressing, what can you press? V for view. Let's see. He likes the colour pumpkin. I don't think that was a colour. Okay, he likes fish or berries and mead. We can't actually bring those, unfortunately, but, you know, if he likes cave fish, we could bring him some cave fish. That's a thing. I'm not too concerned about telling you exactly what to bring here, because it really is up to personal preference, but a pick and an axe, highly recommended. If you don't buy an anvil, you're going to want to trade for one in the first autumn. Check out the trading video. And that's about it. Food, drink, tools, and skills. Final thing, you can press Shift F, and you can set up the name of your fortress. Let's call it Abbey Moist, because that's the default name, but with whatever the first thing was, changed to Abbey. And we'll add of acting, why not? And it gives you the dwarven name and the actual English name. Pretty simple interface. The group name is the same. Say, Age is the Hermetic Mirror. You can remove parts of it. You can press R to get new ones. Simple. And finally, you can save this. Press S and then just choose a name. And then in future you'll be able to choose it instead of preparing carefully. But you will always want to review it, because if your fortress doesn't have access to something that, you know, the previous one did, you'll get a mistake, like items unavailable error or something, and then you'll be able to correct it. But right, we're going to embark, which is E. And we're going to wait, because it takes a moment. You have arrived after a journey from the mountain homes. Strike the earth. Press escape. And we're here. Everything's cold, but it's fine. And that's it for embarking. Can't think of anything else that needs to be mentioned. This is where you start from, you know, what you've seen so far.